Blue Boys today.
The Blue... This is...
You've got a Brooklyn shirt and I got the Bills. We're repping our cities.
How did this happen, Yvonne? How did this happen?
About, what was it, like 10 years ago now?
10 years ago.
So, no, 8 years ago, we ended up... No, wait, over 10 years ago, we ended up at the same floor by happenstance, and you had an Xbox 360, and I loved games, and so I would often purposely walk by your room and see you playing, and then when people were in there one day, I just kind of invited myself in, and then I got to hang out, and then I stayed longer than everybody else. So you were like, hey, let's hang out, I guess. Are you not leaving? You're so weird.
Is that actually what happened? I don't.
It was something like that, yeah.
There were people over in the room that I don't.
Because Kenny always brought people over. You always loved having people over to because we would pass the controller, and then at some point we would play split screen. Because you were like, this is my game console. I don't want to not be playing. And then we would play split screen until we played a Halo round in which I was on the other team and I beat you. And then you kicked me the fuck out of the room.
And that's how the Hungover podcast was born. Welcome to Hungover Podcast episode 145, where Yvonne and I will discuss Amazon Unionization, specifically in the context of the Amazon factory in Alabama that voted against unionization.
Yeah, in Bessemer.
Exactly, Yvonne. I'm one of your hosts, Julien.
I'm the aforementioned Yvonne.
Yes.
Blue Boy number 2.
We are both wearing blue shirts and both wearing similar glasses. The only way that would matter to you is if you were watching the YouTube video on our YouTube channel. But if you're not, that's I think you're missing out. Honestly, we're a couple blue boys over here. What's the other Hungover podcast got going for them? They got blue boys? I don't think so. I don't think they got shit.
They've got accents.
You, other Hungover.
But you know what?
They probably do. I never listened. I should probably listen to.
They're talking about us on their podcast.
Imagine that would be amazing. I would love that more than if they just completely ignored us. It's like a bully. The I don't know anything about beating bullies, and I should never give any advice to aspiring young people who want to beat bullies. But the best way to
aspiring young bullies.
We are. So the best way to piss someone off is just to ignore them. Maybe that's what they're doing to us, is what I'm saying. Vaughn, I'm very angry at them. It's because they're ignoring me.
That's why we keep bringing them up week after week.
Vaughn, we start our podcast out every single week by asking each other, how media, how you doing, Yvonne? You doing all right? Doing all right, buddy?
You know, as you might have surmised, new location for the pod. This is not a Zoom thing or like a fake Discord background. This is just a random background for me, just moving around.
What's going on with the texture on the wall? I'm getting some really great 4K footage here, but
it's like a popcorn-y kind of thing.
Is that like the
on the wall?
I feel like so it's like rough, right?
Yeah, it's not a smooth texture. It's a textured wall. It's like they used to have the popcorn ceilings.
That's what I was
specifically. Is a popcorn ceiling, but this is a popcorn wall and a popcorn ceiling.
I very vividly remember that texture on my hands. It's like in the episode of Inception, in Inception where Ken Watanabe is in his dream. It's in the beginning of the movie, and then his face touches the poly. This is polyester, or he said, but my
the rug is different. The rug
is different. I don't even know what he says.
To get the rug right.
Yeah, how was I supposed to get the rug right? It's like I very vividly know that texture, so maybe that's how my key into lucid dream. I've been reading about lucid dreaming.
There was an AMA that I almost read.
I read that AMA.
A lucid dreamer coach
Cool. That's the exact AMA I read, and that's why I'm talking about it right now.
So have you tried it?
No, I don't have
Have
the
you
resources.
experienced the lucid dreams?
I don't think so. I think maybe once, but I was never able to recreate it. And then also I didn't know how to do anything in it, but I think I was aware I was dreaming. I'll tell you, we should do a podcast on lucid dreaming, and if we're able, or at least keep track of it throughout the podcast. I do want to get. I think it's kind of corny. Fucking dream journal. I don't want to actually do that, but that seems like so much work. And it does seem kind of corny. But I hear that is if you keep a detailed one, that's one of the best ways to.
That would work. I had a dream last night, and it was pretty intense.
Didn't write it down,
for whatever reason, I wouldn't. When I was a kid, I had a recurring dream, and in this dream, I could like fly by swimming up into the sky and stuff.
Whoa!
So I feel like I could control myself in it because I was like actively choosing to do things because it was a recurring dream, and I knew I could do them. I feel like that's what lucid dreaming is to an extent. But then I stopped being able to have that dream.
Ah, interesting.
When life started crushing me.
I'm sorry to hear that. No, I hear it is a very enlightening and empowering ability that some people have. And I think everyone is probably capable of it if you just focus hard enough.
Put your mind to it.
Yeah, if you just put your mind to it. So I do encourage everyone to read that AMA on Reddit. I wish I had a link to it. I'll try to put a link in the description below, but it was pretty interesting. I read a couple of the questions and the comments, and I also read, he linked out to his guide to lucid dreaming. It just
He has a pamphlet or a book? What's going on?
He links out to a bunch of others. He wrote essentially like a pamphlet, but he links to many sources that he used, and he is also, by the way, a PhD in, of course, dream psychology. But the point was that he has many reputable sources that he links out to. So there's a lot of reading to do. It seems like, I don't know, it seems like a very daunting task, but it seems like it's also a very rewarding one. If you think about it, you could do anything and have it feel real. That's kind of cool. If you think about it, and you're not harming anyone unless that's what your lucid dream's about, but that's kind of weird. But I don't want to get into other people's lucid dreams. I'm trying to get in my own. You know what I mean? unless there's some Inception
that you could get into other people's dreams.
I'm just saying maybe Inception's real. Maybe the government has that. They did also. I don't know. The government's all into some weird shit. So. That's all I gotta say.
That is ominous.
It is ominous.
Julien, are you a test subject for something that you're now scrambling to retract?
I don't know. Let's talk about what you did today. What?
Man, have I done nothing? I've been working on my budget a little bit, my budget tracking software. But outside of that,
and then you invested it in Bitcoin.
I have done Dogecoin, because Dogecoin quadrupled.
Yeah, because it's now listed on the
Crypto.com
big old
or
crypto
whatever.
app. Yeah, go invest in Dogecoin, people. Or maybe you missed
Laura
your chance.
Was like,
never mind.
"What is Dogecoin?" And I was like, "It's a dog that's a cryptocurrency." And she's like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" And I was like, "That's exactly what it is. I don't know what you
described it in perfect detail, Laura. I don't know what you're talking about."
So, if you crypto mine these new cryptocurrencies, you can still make some money. Like on a 3060, you can make $7 a day. Hey,
that for just running your computer once you set it up? Is that how it works?
I don't know.
Once you do all the coding and whatever, once you type in the mine crypto app and just click enter and run the script, it just, you just make money after that? Is that how it works?
Just make money.
Until that graphics card burns out, and that's it? That's
Yeah,
sick.
my question on that is like... Is that because I got that number from Linus Tech Tips, who got it from some other guy who ran the math on it. But I'm like, are they equating it like an electric bill anywhere? Because apparently electricity in Louisiana is very expensive.
Oh, is it?
So like, if I'm just running a crypto mining machine, am I losing money? Like, am I not breaking even? Like,
depends on how power efficient it is.
Right, but it's way better to do this in super cold climates, obviously.
Oh, absolutely.
Because then you don't have to cool a warehouse or whatever.
Think about that. That would that's where all the crypto miners should be moving to, like Siberia and Canada and Alaska. That's where they should go.
Or just under the sea.
Yeah, you could do it that way, I guess. That's
just like, you know how they've got oil rigs around the world. These oil rig companies, these oil derrick companies or oil rigs in the oceans should just set up crypto servers that they have down. It's water cooling in the most...
Oh my god, that would be so
in
crazy.
the best way possible. This is it. We've solved it. This is how you make the real money.
This is it. Then you're going to be making $10 a day instead of $7. That would be amazing.
And multiply that by how many ever machines.
Sick.
And it takes 20 weeks to get a graphics card these days, and you're paying quadruple what it usually costs. So
wow.
There we go. You're still making $7 a day. Thank you guys for driving up all of the graphics cards prices.
That's
jackasses.
That's one of the reasons why.
It's not what's happening. I mean, yes,
it's not
there are
only
other
reason,
reasons.
I'll tell you that.
But also, there is also that.
Yes. I would like to have a crypto mining PC, but I'd also like to have a nicer PC as well. Speaking of which, aren't you building a new PC, Yvonne?
Probably not. Anytime soon. I did spec it out.
I thought you were going to get it.
Well,
I thought that's why you texted me.
No. You rightly said this is a PC that you have no need for.
I just wanted to bring that to your attention. But I don't also want to see it. I definitely want you to have it. And if it will make you happy, I'm very happy for you to get it. I think you should get it.
I think I should just get a new graphics card for the PC that I have.
That's what I was thinking.
I should probably get a faster CPU for the graphics card that I have. And if you get a new CPU, you just need a new motherboard. So at that point, I'm just building a new computer.
Yeah, if you want... but typically, if it's for gaming purposes, then the graphics card should suffice. That's all I gotta say on the situation.
But I did order a new M.2 for my laptop because
that's cool.
I easily run out of storage on my computer, and I have to be super selective about the files that I download per project. But
oh, really?
This is because when you're down, I work off Dropbox, and you can use Smart Sync, but at some point you're going to run into issues where the amount of information on the Dropbox is larger than my 500 SSD, 500 gig SSD can safely onboard.
Uh-huh.
So there was a sale that was running for a 2 terabyte Evo Samsung, like 980. So I bought it, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna install it. And two things didn't occur to me. One is people are going to get shot at FedEx facilities by disgruntled former employees, which is going to disrupt the entire chain of delivery.
Why? Wait, what?
Yeah,
what?
That just happened last night or the night before.
Is that another?
It was another mass shooting at a FedEx facility in Indianapolis.
That's what I was gonna say, but I didn't know if that...
We're gonna get struck by YouTube now.
Oh no, I don't care. I couldn't care. If that's what strikes us down, then fuck them. Man.
Yeah, on April 15th, at least 8 people. So that was last night, late last night. Yeah. And then there are other people that I think are in critical condition.
It's a goddamn shame, man.
Apparently in Indianapolis, there have been 3 mass shootings. On January 24th, 5 people died. On March 13th, 4 people died. And last night, on April 15th, 8 people died.
Whoa. That's scary.
Yeah. It's like, I wouldn't call it an epidemic, because we just are going through a pandemic. We know what that's like, but...
What?
It's killing a lot of people. The access to guns and lack of proper health care and access to guns.
Let's talk about that. Oh man.
It's a topic that I think requires. I think it could very well be one of our heavily researched topics that we come back to, just because it's one of those things where it's got a new angle, because for all of 2020 with COVID, the amount of shootings really was down across the board. But now they're back with like the beginnings of a pandemic. And it's a lot of people who end up killing themselves as well at the end of their spree.
Right,
or
there's a lot of
choose to
anger.
die by like suicide by police, kind of thing.
Right, that's a good. Yeah.
Which a lot of people don't want to talk about, but that's also a thing.
Well, that's what happens when everyone has a gun.
Yeah, so I've been consuming no media in that respect. I've been like trying to avoid these kinds of stories, but they're hard to avoid. I mean, in April alone, that's what, the third mass shooting?
Yeah, I think I saw some sort of statistic on Twitter or something about that. It's hard to keep track of, but if that's what the people want us to talk about, that's what they'll get. I'm happy. No, I think it is obviously a very poignant and interesting topic through the lens of a increasingly complicated global pandemic that's affecting one of the largest countries in the world, America, right now, you know, Vaughn?
That has more guns than people.
It does, but we don't have more vaccines than people when we should.
No, and now that the Johnson & Johnson vaccine has been paused...
Yeah, that's what I also wanted to bring that up. I think it's pretty interesting that that's a thing.
It's had a lot of issues, the Johnson & Johnson. First, they had that facility in Baltimore that messed up millions of doses. And now they're looking at it for possible relations to blood clots.
Yeah, this is... Yeah, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I think it's pretty much like one of the worst possible situations or outcomes for a vaccine to be rolled out in this way. And it totally plays to the idea that we should question vaccinations. You know, it's kind of annoying that it's sort of fueling that fire, but they also have that total. That is totally a valid point. If you look at what it's doing to some people in certain cases, it's just annoying. I was even the Moderna vaccine and the Pfizer vaccine that I got the Moderna vaccine. I'm fully vaccinated, but I even an educated man like myself, I was second guessing it for like a week. I was like, man, they're kind of rolling it out pretty fast. I understand that we need it, but like, wow, you guys are just going for it, huh?
Yeah. It's one of those things that, like, the science is not new.
No, it's 10 years old.
not
Decades old. Sorry, not 10 years old.
But mRNA vaccines are new.
No, they're the research behind mRNA vaccines is actually not very new. They've been doing this
actual
research
full implementation of them is new.
Yes, I agree, but the whole idea behind it is that if a new strain, and it has new strains have already popped up, right, of COVID-19 or of a COVID virus. And the whole idea is that the scientists can go back, or the head scientists on the whole vaccine project can go back to the lab and just make a new vaccine, and they can roll it out within the same time period as they did this one. So the whole idea would be that it would be potentially like how we treat the flu every year. We roll out flu vaccines every single year, and we don't even question that shit.
But
right?
flu vaccines are mRNA.
They're not, but I'm saying at the rate that the flu vaccine is made. So
yeah, but isn't the flu vaccine made on like ancient technology?
Yes,
it's
it is
the adenovirus.
No, but the point is, yeah. So it is exactly. It's the flu vaccines are typically the ones that are like we inject a certain amount of the protein that the flu is, and your body builds up an immune system, and like that's how people understand vaccines to work.
Yeah,
is the flu vaccine.
I'm just saying that there's a difference between the adenovirus and the mRNA.
No, I know there's a difference in how the vaccine works. There shouldn't be a difference in how it's rolled out. Is what I'm saying. The idea is that they would be able to go back into the lab, reverse engineer an mRNA sequence, and turn it into a vaccine and mass produce it. Because the underlying science is there. And that's the whole idea. So if a new strain shows up, and I believe there likely will be one. I think we're going to be dealing with COVID for a long time. But I think we're going to be able to slowly get it under control because of the science behind the mRNA vaccines, and how they're able to produce them.
Right. I guess my point was not the speed with which we could deal with COVID, which I think the mRNA is specifically designed to handle that kind of quick mutation and response, but how a massive scale vaccine administration with mRNA hasn't really been ever conducted, and we didn't have, like, for instance, we didn't foresee the blood clotting issue as possibly an issue.
No, that's
and for
true.
A long time they couldn't identify what the allergic reagent was that was causing severe allergic reactions.
No, it sucks, and they're gonna need to do human trials on this shit, and that's why I'm afraid of and that's why a lot of people are afraid to get vaccinations, and I mean you're literally injecting something that I don't even know the contents of into my body, right? That's your body is reacting naturally. It's just how it is. Like, your body's doing a good job if it's reacting to it. And to be honest with you, that's exactly how it works, right? There's a two-dose step thing, right? So you get your first dose, usually not many people have a severe reaction to, but your second dose, you end up getting you feel like shit for, I did I talked about it on one of the solo pods that I did. And that's just that reaction to the Moderna or the Pfizer vaccine specifically is actually a good thing. That means your immune system is working properly and is doing what it's supposed to do.
I had a pretty solid reaction to even the first shot. And the next day, I just felt like
that you get that.
Garbage for a lot of the day.
I'm sorry, man.
But I don't know whether it was that, or maybe I was dehydrated or dealing with the pollen down here, which I'm not used to as well.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So there are a lot of factors because I pretty quickly got down here and then got injected. So it's like,
oh, no,
who knows what's happening?
There's a good reason why I don't have a PhD in biology or psychology, because that's way too many. There's too many variables to control, and I don't envy those scientists. But I know that they're hard at work, and I believe in them, and I believe in the scientific system. And I think it should be fucking funded more, for Christ's sake. Jeez, that again is the conversation of the century in America.
Yeah, but we've had a podcast. We've talked about science funding too.
I know.
We've talked about everything under the sun.
But I think we have good conversations about them, Yvonne. For me, unless you have any other comments.
No,
anything. Really, we're going everywhere.
This is the Omnibus podcast.
Yeah,
and that's why I've got my fidget spinner in that I have a tennis ball.
Do you play tennis now? Tennis?
No, I use it for
stress,
like muscle relax stuff.
I should probably get one of those.
If you take 2 tennis balls and put it on your calf and then sit on them, holy crap, it's super painful, but incredibly great way to kind of massage both the hamstring and the calf muscle.
So you sandwich it in between your calf and your hamstring, and you put all your weight on that?
Yep. So like you just sit on it like this, and then you just sit into it, and
makes sense.
It's really intense.
That's why I have
if you're not ready for it, you're not. Like, I did it the first time. I couldn't stop laughing from how intense it was.
Nuts. Yeah, that's why I bought this this foam roller here.
Oh, look at
that! It's nice. It's cute. You can get it in multiple sizes. This one is pretty compact. I can use it in this crowded room. It's nice for upper back situations. The thing about back. The thing about back stuff is there's a lot of conflicting stuff about anything that you should be doing with your back. From chiropractors, which I don't trust. The science is out. They don't know what they're doing. To physical trainers, to scientists, to all this stuff. And so I try to keep it off my lower back, because even though that's where I'm experiencing the most problems right now, I mean, I think it's natural as you get older. A lot of men specifically get lower back pains. I'm working in an industry that requires me to lift very heavy things, so I don't think it's unnatural that I would have lower back pains, but I'm trying to deal with it slowly. It's not particularly bad. It's just like my back is sore, so I use it for my upper back. I believe that if you just roll it on your upper back, you're not going to have many problems. You can't really hurt yourself. And then I use it for my legs. It's nice it's nice on the hamstrings and whatever the
I think a lot of lower back issues are also linked to tightness in the legs, because
exactly.
If your legs are super tight, and a lot of human power generation is from the legs, then you're like spreading that tightness up basically.
Yeah, I should probably stretch more. I think that probably will be.
I struggle to sleep. My calves get so tight that I can't even like lie on my back because my calves
that's interesting.
Are really tight.
That's
I haven't been able to solve the issue, to be honest, unless I like stretch literally at like right before bed. There's no hope for me.
Have you ever had a foot cramp or a calf cramp? Like,
I've had both multiple times. Yeah.
But for no reason.
Yeah, there's sometimes where I can
Not
put my
because
I
you
can
run
stress
or anything?
my foot into a position, and I can feel like if I keep my foot here, it's gonna cramp.
It's gonna cramp up.
And sometimes I do it on purpose because I'm like, that's a good pain. That's a decent pain.
You're insane, dude. I always catch it coming. I'm like, hold on, no, I can't do this. No. And I have to stand up and like, oh, I need to stop doing everything I'm doing. I don't care if I'm talking to Nikki. I need to stop.
Sometimes I'm like, I'm just gonna stop. I'm not gonna go through it. And other times I'm just like, I want to see this happen.
It's so severe though. Occasionally, sometimes when it happens, I mean, it'll happen like, I don't know, if I just wake up in the middle of the night, sometimes it'll just, I roll over and like, oh, it's happening. But I'm like, I don't want to get out. I don't want to get up right now. I just woke up. And then I let it happen. And sometimes it hurts my calf for like, it feels like I pulled my calf for like half the day. It's been that severe sometimes. I'm like, whoa.
I haven't had the calf thing.
I can't walk right now.
In a long time, but I do get the occasional foot pain.
I think it's related to hydration, by the way. Ooh.
This is my shiatsu
RGB.
RGB
on that?
That gets right up in there.
Gotta watch the podcast for this. Oh, yep. That is a great massager.
And then you can get it right on the neck. That's an important one.
This is a massage podcast.
Just where I'm going to be for the next part of the pod. You talk about whatever, Julien.
That's great.
You want to talk about the PS4? Let's talk about the PS5.
Well, I guess speaking of PS4, I started playing again Final Fantasy VII Remake because I'm gearing up to get the Platinum Trophy in that game. I watched Hoodnerd TV, my boy. Shoutouts to Hoodnerd, twitch.tv/Hoodnerd. Go check him out. He is a smaller streamer like me, but he loves 90s anime, and he streams a lot of cool games, RPGs.
So you would be better friends with him than with me if you met him in real life.
Yeah, probably. I don't know. Who knows, Hoodnerd? Maybe we would be best friends, best buddies. But yeah, so he inspired me to play Final Fantasy VII again because they're releasing a PS5 upgrade for it in June. I'm essentially getting all the trophies except for the hard mode trophy where you play the game in hard mode, because I'm gonna save that for when the game is updated on PS5, and it's super fun. That game was I didn't talk about it. We didn't get to talk about it much on this podcast because it came out in April of last year, and that's sort of when we stopped podcasting for a while, because the world sort of stopped for a while, and there was a lot of things going on. But
it's funny that we, of all people who have been podcasting super consistently, basically, for years, as soon as COVID happened, I was like, I don't have time for this.
We're both like, fuck this shit. This is so dumb.
And then everybody and their grandmother got a podcast. Like Paris Hilton has one now. It's just the dumbest thing of all time.
That is funny, actually, come to think of it. But yeah, this game is really tastefully done. I think, there's a little bit of there's texture issues graphically, but I think those will be touched up on the PS5 version. Of course, it runs at 30 frames per second, but again, it's going to run 60 on PS5. And then, of course, it'll be in 4K as well. The character models are all really tastefully done. The music is beautiful. It really... If you love the first game, this is an amazing remake, and I'm really happy that they made it. But the only qualm I have with it is they're fucking injecting Kingdom Hearts ass shit into my Final Fantasy. I don't like it. They got some weird fucking Kingdom Hearts ass ghosts going around, and they're changing the story, and Sephiroth is there when he shouldn't be. It's like, what's going on? But otherwise, the combat is so fucking
what the story
cool
was supposed to be, but now...
Who fucking knows what they're doing, Yvonne? I don't know. They're putting ghosts in the game, and I don't really know why. I don't know, man. That's Kingdom Hearts shit. When you put ghosts and shit, people in cloaks, and fucking weird names with numbers, and Goofy
weird
comes
names
up.
Was like a staple of Final Fantasy.
Yeah, you got Red 13 there. He's cool. and weird names, totally fine. Tifa, Cloud, what's going on with their names? I don't know. Sephiroth, it's a weird name. But when you fucking put people in cloaks and put ghosts in the game and then say things like Keyblades, I'm gonna stop playing the game. So if they
said
fucking,
Keyblades,
they might as well have, Yvonne. I don't know. There's a lot of ghosts in this game. It's weird, but otherwise it is a really cool retelling of the story and all the character, and it's just a really fun game to play. It's super high production value, and the combat is so cool, and I really like this game.
I can't wait to have my gaming PC ready and running again.
And hopefully they'll release this game on PC as well. I think they will eventually, and then you'll be able to play in 500 frames per second with your new graphics card. That would be sick.
That's true. I can't wait.
I played that
3090 one of these days.
30. Oh my god! I hope you get one of those. God forbid. I also beat Yakuza 2 Kiwami on stream. That was super fun. Shout out to It's Towers, another streamer that I've been watching lately, and he's a big old Yakuza streamer. And he raided me during the stream, and we had a good old time. Inspired me to beat the game that night. I wasn't going to beat it that night. Then I stayed up until fucking 3 a.m, beat the game. Because that's what I do with Japanese video games, apparently.
This is my favorite thing that Julien does, is like, he'll be close enough to the end of the game that he can taste it, but far enough away that it would be incredibly inconvenient to finish it, and he always does it. And the most from Metal Gear Solid 4 on, it's just been a slog at the end of these games. So staying up until 3 a.m. to finish it all.
Dude, it's really bad. I should stop doing this. Bad for my health. I love these games so much. And then I finished editing that I bought a smoker, and so be on the lookout for a video on our channel. I made a video about it because I can't fucking buy a product and not make a video about it.
Somebody has to on our channel.
And I also check. I want to give a shout out to they're a really small company, Brooklyn Video Games. I didn't know that their store was so small. I wanted to go check them out for a while because I followed them on Twitter. But they're a really cool video game store. Like I think I mentioned them last week. They're a brick and mortar video game store. It doesn't really exist. Those types of places don't really exist anymore. They're a secondhand store, so they buy and sell games, game consoles, old games, physical copies of games. And I saw them, like, it's just a very small store. I thought I would be able to browse the store without feeling so awkward and nervous the whole time. They were totally chill guys. They were literally playing the fucking 24/7 stream of the lo-fi hip hop beats to study for it, that has that anime girl.
Yeah.
I think
I like that.
I've seen that.
You showed that to me, by the by, and I really, really enjoy. I listen to that channel really frequently. It's great,
like during
for just
work
background
or whatever it is. It's
I've written
just music to ignore.
Many a Dungeons and Dragons character backstory to that lo-fi hip hop beat.
Exactly, right? It's cool. And so they were playing that, and they were refurbishing consoles and controllers there just right in front of me. So I thought that was pretty cool, and I thought I had to buy something. I mean, I was there for like probably realistically like 15 minutes, not that long, but it felt like an eternity because they're like, just tell me if I can help you with anything, man. And they said that to me twice, and I'm like, all right, I'm an awkward gamer. But I did buy this GameCube controller. It's an official one.
Oh my God.
They don't sell this shit anymore. I think they refurbished it. But this is the white one, the white version of it that they only sold in Japan. And I think that these controllers, Nintendo doesn't make this shit anymore, even though they refuse to let this controller die for whatever reason. But I think that they're probably giving up on the GameCube controller. This is in mint condition, and I think I bought it specifically because I've been thinking about getting into Melee again, but also because I think that these controllers will never be made again, so I wanted to just snap one before they're $200 each. So I got it. Otherwise, that's what I did, Yvonne. That's all I gotta say. Just wanted to say that on the podcast.
Yeah, man. I did play a new game this week.
Whoa!
Cool. I downloaded Gloomhaven, which is the video game adaptation of the board game Gloomhaven.
Nice.
And it got me again, Julien, because it's an alpha.
Oh my god! You keep buying.
I keep getting got
games.
It's the worst. I'm really.
What's your problem
annoyed
with it? Is it you're like it's not finished, so you don't even want to play it?
Well, Baldur's Gate 3 was literally it was really bad. But this game was fine. It runs. It makes my laptop die inside. So it's not like it's like I don't think it's healthy for the computer that I use for work. So I just kind of gave up on playing it. And I was just playing the tutorials, and it's basically like Hitman Go, but with better graphics.
Cool. Awesome.
And a slightly deeper mechanics. So I was like, I could have just played Hitman Go and been just as satisfied with all the puzzles. Because it's basically individual dungeon rooms. And you have your characters and there are enemies in it, and that's you funny. Have cards that you get that power up your attacks or movement.
Nice.
And it's a really convoluted system to do short rests and long rests. I've never played the actual board game, so this is probably all the same stuff, just translated into the video game space. But I can say, playing it alone in a room by yourself is not fun. So I think I want to play this game just with other people. I was able to play 2 D&D campaigns last weekend in a row on the same day, both on Sunday.
Wow,
I fucking cracked on with that. Yeah, that was 7.5 hours of D&D.
That's sick. That sounds like a great night.
It was a great night. It was like old school Dungeons and Dragons when you used to play 9 hours at a time back when you didn't have responsibilities.
Yvonne, speaking of games that are in alpha, I updated Cyberpunk 2077 because it's now version 1.2. Game ran totally fine on my PC. Not bad, guys. You guys are correcting your mistake. Go CD Projekt Red. I hope you guys make something of this game. But I hope we don't forget that they released and sold this game on PS4 because it should never be on that console because it can't run on that console. But I do think that the world that they made in this game is super cool. I'm excited, even though it's hyper-sexualized and maybe there's an argument to be made that it shouldn't be that way, but I also like that it is hyper-sexualized. I can't complain. But I if you have a PC and you were waiting for it to be updated, I think the game runs pretty all right on PC right now. So go check it out if you are looking to get back into it. Vaughn, do you want to move on to the topic of the show? We're 45 minutes into the podcast.
Yeah, I guess we could try that.
Okay. We wanted to talk a little bit, or at least bring light to the topic to all 150 subscribers on our YouTube channel. Thank you for subscribing. You guys are awesome. There is an Amazon warehouse in Bessemer. Like, I was trying to make a reference to Lord of the Rings, but you would be better equipped to do that. There's a character with a mirror ending. Like, I feel like it's
Farmere.
I was trying to say that, but Alabama.
What a segue, Julien.
They voted to not unionize.
Yeah.
And this has been a topic of some contention amongst Amazon employees across the country as they bring up And of course, many other industries across the country. In America, there are many union labor laws and unionizations, organizations out there that give power to the workers when they're working for such large corporations such as Amazon. So, Yvonne, if you wanted to give us a quick intro to the topic, that would be really awesome.
Yeah, so Amazon has something like 200 plus
Bots.
warehouses, and this is one of the warehouses in which case the workers were deciding whether or not to unionize, as Julien just brilliantly put forward. What that would mean is that they would have a collective bargaining power, so that they would work together in order to set their wages, work hours, breaks, health benefits, any other benefits, including pension, annuity funds, things like that. I think, now stepping into my personal opinion, a lot of work that has been done to unionize labor and push in that direction are things that led to reduced child labor, reduced work days in terms of hours, getting paid for overtime. Like, these are actions of unionized, whether formally or informally, unionized workers in order to get to where we're going. So I think that there is an incredible strength to workers binding together and using their collective bargaining power in order to get fair compensation. The reason that I think this is a really interesting case of unionization is that places like Alabama don't have a state, a significantly higher, or I don't even really think that they have a state minimum wage like they do in New York, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's a federal minimum wage that's set at the federal level, but then we have states that often will go above and beyond that and set it based on living expenses and cost of living within their state. So, for instance, in New York, it's much higher than it is in Alabama, because in Alabama, the minimum wage is something like $7.35 or whatever the the federal is. And so the Amazon wage is $15.30 per hour.
Nice.
So if you go from a minimum wage job to working at Amazon, you're already more than doubling what you're getting paid. Plus, on day one of being in that job, you gain benefits. So, like, there were workers who testified, and the New York Times interviewed them as to why they voted no. And one of them said that day one of being in the job, she was covered by health insurance and was therefore able to help pay her way in terms of cancer treatments that she was receiving. And that Amazon had put forward that if the workers unionized, then benefits would be lower than what they are currently experiencing. Which is maybe true, maybe untrue. I think that that's based on the power of their ability to negotiate. But in a sense that there's already a lot of incentive in Amazon for these, or in Alabama for these workers to not unionize, because as compared to a lot of other jobs in that state, that's probably a pretty good job, especially for people who are warehouse workers, so they're probably not college educated. They might be like GED or like high school diploma or equivalent GED program beneficiaries. So I think that this is one of the places where you can get a low-skill job with a lot of benefit to it.
I see. I always feel like the idea of calling it a low-skill job is kind of underselling what a job is. I always hate that sort of not that it's your words, Yvonne. I understand that a lot of people call something like this a low-skill job, but if I was just thrown in this job, I don't know if I could do it. These These guys have been doing this job for a year, 2 years. They're pretty proficient at their job.
Not necessarily. In fact, in this place, as well as many other Amazon warehouses, the amount of turnover is incredibly high. So even though these Alabama workers are getting paid higher than they were, up to a third of the labor force had overturned from the time that the vote was set to the day that the vote was conducted, according to the workers. Again, referencing like this New York Times article.
Right.
So that is an incredibly high turnover rate for a job that has such high benefits in that region. And some of the people that were conducting this vote, or saying yes or no to unionization, were on day 3 of their job. So that's it's not like they've been there for forever. And I think the reason that it's low skill versus high skill is you don't have to have, other than on the job training, you don't really have to have any skills in order to be a pick and pull Amazon warehouse worker. And I think that's part of the reason why it becomes a very difficult job to unionize, right? So you don't have incredibly highly skilled knowledge bases, right? You don't have to go to college to become a worker in this warehouse. You can get trained probably pretty effectively to find what you're looking for, pull it, and bring it to where it needs to go. There's not probably a lot of heavy equipment that needs to be trained onto, maybe a forklift or two. Which to be fair, training on a forklift is skilled, more skilled labor. So, but I think in general it's designed to be a job that is easy to plug and play. So it's not designed to be a job that requires a lot of training.
Everyone's replaceable, Vaughn.
Exactly. But in that,
unionized, you're not.
In that and in that, you have exceedingly reduced capability of protecting your position, which is exactly what you're alluding to, right? So, like what I was saying is that if workers collectively bargain, then it's not just the power of one replaceable worker; it's an entire labor force, which is incredibly hard to replace.
Yes, and that would be the whole point where unionization gives the power and the leverage in the hands of the workers. So I think, as you pointed out, unionization as a broad term in throughout history has led to many things that we take for granted, such as a 2-day weekend, right? I think if I'm not mistaken, unionization had at least some part to play into that. That's something that we take for granted, I guess, if you can think of it that way.
Labor law,
right?
Labor law in general, labor laws are things that were fought for and won by workers. It's not like companies when they were starting out were like, we're going to have a very organized 8-hour workday, a half hour for lunch. Everybody's going to get covered for benefits, and make sure that if you're working in a factory, in which case you can lose your hands, or a coal mine where you're going to get black lung, that we're going to have benefits and ways to protect you. No, laborers have always had to work together and fight for a lot of the benefits that we receive today, which makes it harder for us to really appreciate the ideas of unions. And to an extent, there are other unions. Namely, we look at like police unions nowadays that are gaining a lot of negative media attention and negative societal interpretation of what their actions are, right? So union at its core is supposed to protect its laborers, and the police unions are doing that, but at the cost of the general public, possibly. So, and then we look at teachers' unions, and teachers' unions have been much maligned as to what amount that is true, or just what amount that is pushed as a narrative by corporations and conservative organizations that either want to increase the number of charter schools and therefore unlock religion into the public spaces in schools, or just increase charter schools because those are places where you can privatize education and make more money.
I went to a charter school, I think, but it was a public school.
I went to a magnet school.
Is that what a charter school is?
No. A magnet school is a specialized school.
Oh, yeah.
But a charter school is a school that gets granted a special charter, which puts it outside of a lot of the standard public school regulations.
My school was funded by Bill Gates.
There you go.
I know that. Or partially funded in a way. So I mean, this topic is gaining some traction because, of course, Amazon has quickly become the largest I would say probably one of the largest companies and one of the most important companies in America going forward. And they seem to be, in a way, infecting every aspect of our lives,
They
down
can
to all our data.
They are there for information systems.
Yeah.
In terms of their business practices. They can and
They're
have been
also-
accused and have actuated where the things where like Apple does on their software side. Amazon will see the traffic on Amazon.com of individual sellers, then will introduce their own product in that space, sell it at a loss because they can do it at
Because they're
such
so
large
big.
scale
Yeah.
that they can take the loss and still continue to grow, and then undercut and cut out a lot of smaller or third-party sellers, which I think is bad for the industry, or any industry. Because if we look at, for instance, internet service providers, right? We used to have a ton of mom and pop, basically, levels of ISPs, provided a lot of competition in the market. Cable companies came in, could lose a ton of money, but provide faster speeds. And then now we have like these small regional monopolies where you can't challenge these ISPs, right? And in that same way, Amazon is a very large corporation. They push out lots of product, and the people who have to deliver that product are the people who are like in these Bessemer warehouses where they have to work 10-hour shifts, which as a person who's also worked 10 to 12-hour shifts, it's not happy.
I just worked 10 hours today.
Yeah. How many breaks did you get?
I only got one 30-minute break.
One 30-minute break. It's
Yeah,
tough in a 10-hour to only get
I don't
one
typically
30-minute
work.
break.
My boss does not want to pay me overtime, so I don't typically work more than 40 hours a week. But my job also requires me to be standing up all day, so
as does this
and lifting heavy things. So
warehouse worker and
Yeah,
lifting a
exactly.
variety of things, and they work in warehouses, right?
Yeah.
So you work in a building in Manhattan.
yes,
Its square footage is not going to be as large as an Amazon warehouse. And
It's
so
not.
these people can waste half of their break because
Just
they
walking to the
clock
break room.
in. They might be on their break in the middle of the warehouse floor, and then they have to walk all the way to like a break room, and that's half of their break time.
right. No, I totally understand that. That sounds horrible. I mean, a lot of reports have been coming out about working conditions in Amazon warehouses, and also particularly, I think recently, the driving conditions that a lot of Amazon delivery men and women have to endure, I guess is a word to describe it, with the whole water bottle that they have to pee in, right, or something related to that, and they have the cameras watching them. And it
It's
just
because
seems
the
like
amount they're tracked everywhere on the floor. They have to have a certain quota, and the pace at which they move is grueling to the point where they have often, like, there's been cases cited where they have no time to go to the bathroom. They have
Right.
to push out that quota because they're being treated like basically robots.
Right, and I think definitely Jeff Bezos wants to completely automate the whole process. That's his goal, and he's swiftly moving towards. I mean, I've seen videos of it. I was amazed the first time I saw it. Right, in an Amazon warehouse. I know there are people on the floor moving a lot of the box products and things like that. But the first time I saw it, I was like, oh, that's kind of sick. They had the automated bot that rolls up to the aisle and picks out the thing and then puts it on itself and rolls wherever it goes. I thought that was really cool, and that I think much like we might. I know Amazon is a private business, or actually I guess it's publicly traded, but much like the military, I can draw a connection, right? A lot of scientific research came out of military funding. So maybe in some future, some timeline, Amazon does something like that, but they'll probably turn it into a product that they're trying to sell you. But you get some sort of scientific advancement from Amazon because they're just a company with a large amount of money. I was just thinking of it that way. That just
yeah,
popped
but then
in
you
my
get
mind.
Bayer and Johnson and for-profit like scientific research, which is
Skewed and
profit skewed,
biased. Yes.
So
I know, of course.
we don't then develop a healthcare system that is preventative, which would be cheaper.
No, of course
because we're always seeking to give people drugs to fix them instead of preventing them, and therefore we can't call people fat. We have to call them obese and on the way to being fixed with diet pills.
That's why I
and
was
all
trying
sorts
to
of
say
things.
some alternate timeline.
Yeah.
That Amazon funds some sort of research and makes it both profitable but also valuable to the human race. I don't know. I want Amazon to
Not be evil.
not be evil, right? Because they do provide a lot of people service, a lot of services that we've come to rely on nowadays. I don't purchase anything from Amazon. I haven't purchased anything on Amazon in like 6 months or anything. But I know a lot of people purchase their groceries on Amazon. They purchase everything on Amazon. And that is a service that they provide, and they make it cheap and convenient
But to what
I know at what cost. That's the whole point.
At what cost? Because we're talking about facilities that push workers to the point where they don't have
Right.
30-minute breaks to eat their lunch. They have 15-minute breaks because they have to walk places.
It's like while you are getting paid twice the amount that you would at a minimum wage job in Alabama, apparently, in Bessemer, you are also being worked to the bone in some situations. Maybe not all situations, but definitely.
Which is why they have such high turnover rates.
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
even though people are being paid so highly,
or higher, it's not that much money.
I mean, comparatively, yeah, it's more than twice the minimum.
It is, yes, I agree.
That they're getting worked to the bone. I also think that it's one of the spaces where conservative messaging has really worked. A lot of states in the South, in particular, are right to work states now, and right to work means is breaking up the power of the union. So you can't be forced to be part of a union to be a worker at a job. And whereas this grants a little bit more freedom to get hired, etc., because it's what makes a union more difficult is that it's harder to get into jobs which are unionized, right? And that's specifically to protect the people who are in the union so that they can get hired because they're getting paid, or they're paying into a system which is supposed to protect their job, right? So it creates a more significant barrier to entry. And it's supposed to protect those, or be useful to those people who are in the union, right?
Right.
But it also can create layers of being harder to work at a certain given job. So, for instance, I'm a union laborer. I am part of an IATSE union, 829 in New York. I'm working under a different union down in Louisiana. And for instance, when I go from New York to Louisiana, I have to ask the union here if it's okay for me to work. Now,
Okay.
I'm a union IATSE union member, so they should have like handshake deals with everybody throughout all of the unions. That yeah, that's fine. So it's not really been an issue, but that could be, for instance, because Force 478 down here has their own people that they want to hire into my or get hired for jobs in my given position. But what that does is create the ability for these unions to leverage the collective working power and make sure that we get paid a very decent wage, and that we have a lot of there. I have a national benefit plan. I have a pension plan that's paid in, and it's especially important for gig workers like myself, right? So we talked about like Uber or Lyft and these kinds of gig workers, but a lesser like focused thing is that the fact that entertainment workers are also gig workers, right? So if we don't have the ability to work at the same job for 5 years in a row, because a film
Right.
doesn't take usually 5 years to make, especially now that internet streaming services are pushing content, and that window for making content is getting really, really condensed. So whereas a film would previously take like 90 to 120 days to make, now it's getting pushed to 30 to 60 days, including prep and wrap. So it's really pushing the industry and shortening up, squeezing as much as you can out of it in a different way. But at least we have some protections and some benefits that we can rely on in the days or the months when we're not working. So we have health benefits even if we're not working all the time.
That's cool.
Um,
That's good.
and it's a really important thing. And I would say that like really support gig workers having some level of protection, because what if your main income is based on Lyft or Zoom, or not Zoom, but Lyft or Uber, and your car breaks down to a point, or you get into a car accident when you're on the job or something like that. There's not a lot of protections. And then if your money runs out, a lot of the places that have this as an option for you to use as your daily job, right? Like New York or California, like in LA, have
Yeah.
incredibly high cost of living. So
Oh, are you
you
kidding me?
might
Yeah.
be barely scraping by even while you're doing this job. And being off for a couple days means that you're missing car payments, health insurance payments, and that is a level of protection that you don't have because you're not unionized. And there's no
I
like
see.
support system for you to reach out to. I think that it's been a really negative aspect in the past 15 years of how much labor unions have gotten crushed in the United States. From right to work to just being painted, like teachers unions being painted as really, really awful. And now the recent stuff of even coming in from the
Teachers
left.
can't catch a break, huh?
They really can't. But
Yeah.
from the left now, there's a push to break up police unions. And
Right.
this is a dangerous precedent to follow, right? Because if the left is pushing the breakup of unions, for instance, a police union, and is going to push for that union to get broken up, a conservative side could really utilize the space of breaking up that police union to break up the power of other unions, and therefore give power back to the hands of a very small percentage of the working populace, which isn't the laborers. And it's
Jeff
really
Bezos.
important for laborers to have this ability to protect themselves. I really think so. I mean,
No, you've convinced me. I'm about to unionize butcher shop.
I mean, if you go
That's
back
not
and
gonna
think
happen,
about it,
but
like, Upton Sinclair wrote that book on the meatpacking industry,
yeah,
and that had really significant amounts of impact on that industry. And if you look at
of course.
like meatpacking workers and unionizing there, it's quite important because of the dangerous conditions that meatpacking plants had. And I mean, going to a small scale butcher is a different thing, like a
Right. No, I agree. I'm definitely not working. Those guys at the packing industry, those guys are crazy. They're like breaking down. I mean, the type of butchery we do does take a lot longer, but they're like breaking down 5 cows a day, man. It's nuts. It's crazy. The speed at which they can work, but of course that also adds a lot of risk involved in their lives, and their health. It's a very dangerous job to be working with those crazy. They have these crazy like saws that can just decimate a cow. It's amazing. I think it's amazing, but
yeah.
it is that is definitely a really good point. Thank you for educating me on unionization, Yvonne. I definitely think that it's in a peculiar, and I don't want to say uneducated or ignorant position that these Amazon workers are taking, but I guess if you read further into the article, like you were saying, some of these workers had only been working there for 3 days, right? And they got to vote on this unionization movement at this factory. So
Yeah.
so perhaps yes, it is maybe their vote was a little in some way uneducated on all the possible points and power that they could get from unionization.
But Amazon also led an incredibly potent, and they put millions of dollars into anti-union campaigns, including here. So
it's propaganda.
Yeah,
I guess in a way.
There's a lot of anti-unionism in the South. B, there's a lot of anti-union propaganda that Amazon is putting out there. And some of that anti-union in the South is actually a historical legacy of racism. Because
yes,
there's a lot of black people joined unions, and then you've got white people and black people that are getting protected by the same union.
Can't have that.
Some of the more interesting things in like California with like the Ford plants out there is they built a Ford plant, and then they had to build housing for the union workers to live and have good access to like good housing with like a good in terms of commute, right? So they built this housing, and then it became desegregated housing, and it was one of the first like ways that in California, for instance, there were neighborhoods of middle-class white and black folk living next to each other. So there is a strong legacy of that kind of cooperation, but there's also a strong legacy of unions stopping black people from being able to work. So it's not like a union is a panacea. It's not going to solve racism. It's not going to prevent people from being fully exploited in jobs. It's not going to make sure that all people gain access to good jobs. I just think that it has a stronger chance of being a way for workers to have a voice, and especially in this place in like Bessemer, Alabama, where a lot of the labor force, they are black, and they would be able to have a very strong community voice that is tied back into the roots of the community. And preserve a lot of the things that their community would represent through the laborers that live and work in that community. I'm saying the word community a lot, but basically,
good show.
It could, it could provide a strength and a basis from which black workers have a chance to voice their opinions and create a stronger position from which to advocate in other areas. For instance, a black union working at a black majority working at Amazon can have a stronger voice to advocate against police brutality and other things by having more cooperative donations, funding, etc., that you can collaborate together in order to get actions committed. Protecting voter rights, for instance, that can be a big thing that unions can stay strong because they can have larger turnouts. If you look at the legacy of churches in terms of the desegregation of the South and how like the SCLU was incredibly important in terms of black organization, community organization, having a union be part of that too is an incredibly important thing. And it can be in this modern age where we have a lot of pressure coming from the populace to make changes and not a lot of strength of action outside of protesting.
It is it's a sad time we live in, Havon. It seems like there's a lot of science fiction that I'm thinking about that sort of illustrates these large companies that do of course employ a lot of people, perhaps obviously in poor working conditions such as Amazon, but
and like a lot of these workers are banking on promises that are being made, but right, after the vote happens, there's no need to hold the feet to the fire. There's no pressure. The right. the media attention will go away because it's not an expected date, and there's no reason for this
24-hour news cycle.
And I did misspeak. I said SCLU, and I confused the ACLU and the SCLC, the Southern Christian Leadership Conference.
Acronyms. No, yeah. I mean, I just like these large companies are painted as evil companies, and you really can see it. It seems like they are fueled by greed and money, and of course money, but it just seems like it I mean, I don't even know why I'm trying to say it, but it's
when corporations grow to the massive size that companies like Amazon have, they have so much power that they can literally affect the formation of laws and with lobbyists, etc. Right, it's just like we couldn't ever in the history of like the founding fathers couldn't imagine a corporation as large as Amazon. As
or Apple.
Infiltrative as Google, as ubiquitous as the Apple iPhone, it's just it is using stone tools to administer to a digital world. Right. It's very difficult, and I think I don't know. I hope that the changes that Amazon promised actually come through, but a lot of these workers might cycle out, like we talked about. Like their turnover rate is really high. So if a lot of these workers cycle out in that 100-day window that these promises are going to be made, there's going to be nobody left to hold them to the fire.
Yeah, it's. I guess there's a multiple. I don't know. I don't want to get into different conversations so late into the podcast, but it's just like it is pretty crazy what's going on. I just feel like I kind of want to talk about like thinking about I know Jeff Bezos doesn't make all the decisions at Amazon, but let's just use him as an entity that we can talk about. Like, what's the philosophy behind where Amazon is going? Right, you just want to make more money in order to to push the limits of what he's able to do, or what the company is able to do, like as you were saying, change laws. Like, is there any
There's no end
value
goal.
in
Capitalism
that? Yeah,
is
there
amoral.
I guess that's the point.
It's buy
right?
for
Yeah,
a dollar,
there is
sell
no-
for two, and make as much money as possible.
I guess so.
There's
I
no,
always try to think of it as an end goal, but there is none.
that is everything that they do is an angle to make more money. To what end? I mean, we have no clue. Jeff Bezos has Blue Origin. He wants to go to space, etc. But does Amazon think about the amount of incredible waste that they create with all of the stupid shit that you can buy on Amazon, and it is commerced every day, and is made available at like such simple and easy access? No. How could they give a shit about recycling and having your commerce be close to your house? They don't care about that. They care the exact opposite. They want to produce and they want to own as much of their own production as possible to close their margins and not have to pay other people. And they'll keep producing cheap bullshit all the time. They're too big.
It's scary. And there's not really much we can do to stop it except for unionization.
I mean, there is. We just have to blow up Amazon. It's too big.
Yeah, that
blow
is
Facebook,
that's what Bernie
Google.
Sanders been fighting for centuries.
How many pairs of underwear do you think Jeff Bezos has? Like 6?
God.
Bernie's got 1.
Anyways, guys, that is it. I hope we can make some big.
And by blow up,
movements
I meant break
and
them up.
changes.
You know, I didn't mean actually like. I didn't advocate violence there. I just meant break them up because they're too large. Just
No,
so
they
don't
stopped
get
listening after you
misinterpreted.
said that. No, they didn't listen this far into the podcast.
Yeah, that's true.
There's no. Anyways, thanks for listening to the podcast, guys. Hopefully, you can contact your local senator and congressman and change this with a simple phone call. There's a lot of work to be done, and hopefully you can, if you're working in an ununionized labor force, hopefully you can look into, at the very least, and do some research about unionization, and hopefully this conversation sort of sparked that interest, at least within your mind.
I mean, listen, like I worked at the coffee shop at Recess in Syracuse, right? They were paying their baristas like a living wage. They kept them for a long time. Yeah. And then one day they were like, we have to cut everybody's wage and everybody's hours and keep everybody below 40 hours and cut everybody's pay. And they lost everybody basically from that time. And then they have incredibly high turnover rates. So the quality of their product at the shop, I think, is incredibly diminished versus when they could keep baristas there for years at a time.
Yeah, it's a simple concept. You have happy workers there that are happy to do their job. You're going to get good work out of them. I think that's just such a simple concept that, I mean, it's not like pay them all millions of dollars. It's just pay them a living wage so they can do the things that they want to do outside of work. And they're going to come to work happier and do a better job. I think that's, I don't know. Right?
A great closing statement for the podcast. Thank you, everyone, for listening. We've been your Blue Boys for the day.
The Blue Boys coming at you.
Thanks so much.
Maybe we're going to have to coordinate the next podcast. Everyone, have a great day. Goodbye.
Bye.